Ophelia rises.
Frustrated with your pain or injury? That sucks. But I'm here to help. Hi, my name is Denise DeShetler, and I'm a bodyworker and educator. Why is it so hard to find the care we need to feel better? Most of my clients have asked that question for years until we started working together. Now I'm going to help you find those answers. I'll explore different health disciplines and chat with talented practitioners. We'll share our insights and practical advice to help you get the results you need to feel good again. Because seeking the right care for your health can be a pain in the arse. But with me, your wellness journey will turn into a fun-filled adventure. Buckle up, baby, for the Passionate Health Advocate Show.
Welcome, listeners, and thanks for joining another Health Success Story episode. Health Success Stories are episodes where everyday people turn into their own health advocate superstar. I am here with Beth Martin. She resides in Oregon State and is a 41-year-old former executive director of the Oregon Association of Naturopathic Physicians. Her favorite book is Ram Dass Teaching Yoga Sutras. For over a year, Beth has been fighting a debilitating battle with long-haul COVID-19. She received various treatments from Western and naturopathic doctors with no avail. In fact, her body was shutting down. Until one day, she tried something that is now saving her life. Today, Beth is going to share with us her incredible journey in the hope that her story can save the lives of many other long haulers. Hello, Beth. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. And I have to say, thank you so much for being here today and being willing to talk with me and share your story with all our listeners.
It is an absolute honor, and I'm grateful to be here to be able to tell my story. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So where would you like to start with your story and your health challenge?
I think we can probably start in March of 2020. I like to say that Rod Stewart gave me COVID. This was before everything was locked down and before masking. And we had a trip to Las Vegas for my husband's birthday party. And it was just him and I, and he surprised me with tickets to go see Rod Stewart. And so we looked so fabulous in our matching outfits or we had white suits that they put us down in the front row.
Oh, wow.
And came home. And on Friday, the 13th of March, I had my first symptoms. So from March 13th, that was when I think most things shut down, at least in California and Oregon and Washington. Everything closed, and they were directing all personal protective equipment to the hospitals, and all of the clinics had closed. And that's when I first started to I knew something was not right. I did not feel right. And, we were just hoping it was a cold. Because I was not in the age demographic that they were specifically targeting and treating at that time. I wasn't able to get a COVID test for the first 60 days that
How many?
60 days.
60.
60 that I was symptomatic.
Wow. Okay.
So I have this lovely little chart where I keep all of my information, because for a while I didn't have any memory. I had no short-term memory at all. So I had symptoms until about April 1st. And then they went away for about 3 weeks, and I was feeling fine.
Wow. Okay.
But prior to that, during, the Friday the 13th through April 1st, I, had all of the telltale COVID signs: loss of smell, taste. I couldn't breathe. I had one day specifically where I knew that I was not doing well and I couldn't get up the stairs by myself. My husband had to carry me because my heart rate was so fast and I couldn't catch my breath. And so I was I'm the former executive director of an association in Oregon called the Oregon Association of Naturopathic Physicians. And so I was lucky in the fact that I had 12 bosses who were all doctors. And they were kind enough to, once I sent up my alert signal of, this is not going well. And I think I need something beyond rest and Theraflu. I think I'm dying. And I don't want to go to the hospital because I'm afraid of what will happen if they put me on a ventilator. They all jumped right into action and they were treating me in my home and they were giving me ozone therapy and vitamin pushes. And basically they were here, every other day, supplements, and just making sure that I was, getting all of the things that they could possibly give me with their limited resources, because they had to turn over all of their personal protective equipment over to the hospitals. They were doing what they could to keep me well and keep me out of the hospital.
Wow.
And
was this all before you were diagnosed? You were able to get the test? Okay.
Yeah, this is all pre-diagnosis. I had, and I was working full time also. And so as part of my job, it was my role to look at all the governor's orders and to make sure that all of the physicians' clinics had the information that they needed in order to know what to do and if they could be open, if they could treat, could they test people for COVID? Did they have a negative pressure room? And if not, then their air was recirculating and that wasn't good, and those types of things. So doing that while sick was very stressful on my body and my whole system. But it was kind of one of those times where I knew I was needed and there was no one else that could do the work that needed to be done. And so I did. You just do what you have to do. But I was slowly sinking. And then I took an antibody test that was negative. I took a second antibody test that was negative, and then my symptoms started to come back around April 1st, little bits. And then around Mother's Day, it was on Mother's Day, actually, my family had a whole thing planned and I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't really eat. I felt feverish. And then from then on, I had a fever for 4 months. And I gradually just lost my ability to function, sort of one system at a time. So everyone's symptoms are different with long COVID. They were trying to rule out other things at the time. So they did test me for Epstein-Barr virus and I did test positive. So they thought that I was in an Epstein-Barr flare. My doctor, my normal doctor refused to see me and wouldn't give me a COVID test. And my breathing problems came back and I knew that someone needed to look at my lungs. And so it sort of got to the point where my husband had to call and demand that I be seen because I was so sick. And so I think just given the hysteria that our family was feeling over my illness, they did see me, and I did have pneumonia. I had walking pneumonia, so they thought that was the problem.
Let me ask you.
Sure.
You said the doctor wouldn't see you. Was it because they thought you were having a flare with Epstein-Barr virus, or why were they not seeing you?
They were treating me as if I had COVID. So
okay. They were just like, let it run its course.
Let it run its course. Here's what you need to do. Drink the fluids. But I was also, working with all of my naturopathic physicians on, the ozone therapy. And once I got the pneumonia results, that helped a little bit because I did have pneumonia. They did a full x-ray and my lungs had fluid in them. And then they sent a referral into an infectious disease specialist that was denied by my insurance. So I did not get that. And just given the fact that I wasn't really being seen, wasn't being treated, I decided to switch doctors. And I got a recommendation from a friend and went to another doctor who diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. And I'm just looking through all my notes. That was infectious disease was denied. And it's like, called the MD, no help. Called the MD, no help. These are my passive aggressive notes that I leave for myself. But I did. I had a fever and all the symptoms. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia in June of 2020. And by this time, I was doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And I was doing UV ozone therapy. So I can explain those if you want me to go into greater detail, or people can Google what those are. But they're basically, ways to boost your immune system. And, they were working, and then they would, stop working, and we would try something else and it would work for a little while and then it would stop working. So I was prescribed a fibromyalgia drug, and I had a severe allergic reaction to it.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to get a breathing test from a pulmonologist, and the breathing test came back completely normal, even though I didn't feel like I could breathe.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Before you got the symptoms after the concert, how was your health before that?
Good question. I was a healthy human being. I did yoga every day. I was a yoga instructor. I was eating an Ayurvedic diet. I was taking the dog for a walk every day. So I was getting 30 minutes of walking the dog, at least 30 minutes of yoga every day. And I was eating a fully Ayurvedic diet. And I was probably the healthiest I'd ever been in my life.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went from that to this journey. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So after the allergic reaction incident, and once I was trying all of these treatments that all of these wonderful doctors were, let's try it one more time. Okay, let's try something else. And these were the naturopathic physicians that were really kind of like, all right, let's find the root cause. I ended up changing primary care providers to a naturopathic physician. And she was treating me for fibromyalgia, for Epstein-Barr, and I think sort of was recognizing that I was having new symptoms, and my symptoms were constantly changing, which is a sign of long COVID. So we think that I had COVID in March, and we think that my long COVID began in May, which is very standard, where you usually get about a month break, and then all of a sudden, all your systems just start to fail. So,
wow.
Okay. Yeah. So, just looking through my notes, I ended up I started reducing my hours at work down to 20 hours a week. I had to hire additional staff just to sort of help with the workload. I was reading I made a $40,000 budgeting error, which is not normal for me. And it wasn't serious. And it was just, okay, let's create the budget for next year and let's look at this, and my treasurer said, look at this, we already made this money, so it's not a deficit. And that's when I knew that I was, my ship was sinking and I was taking the ship down with me. And so I talked to, they're all my friends at this point. I talked to my board and I just said, I'm not doing well. And, so we talked through, do you want to take a medical leave of absence, or do you want to look at, getting an interim executive director. So I gave them 3 months notice, just because I knew I wasn't getting better, and having any kind of deadline of when I was going to have to go back to work was not going to help my illness. It wasn't going to help me mentally. Mm-hmm. And it was my favorite job. I loved it. And it was something that was really hard to leave behind. And it was hard to leave all of them behind. There were a lot of tears. I'm not going to cry right now, but it was definitely an emotional process. And it was them that said, you have to put yourself first, and everything else is secondary to you being alive and being healthy. And so I ended up having to quit my job in October of 2020, and I've been trying to get on disability since, and I've been on unemployment since, which is due to run out in September. And they're saying on average that disability claims are running about 280 days. And I filed mine about 8 months ago. So, wow, sitting and waiting on that. So I kept trying different things. I was in bed. Usually, I would get up for breakfast with the kids and then go back to bed, and then get back up for dinner to be with the kids and go back to bed. So on average, I was probably seeing my children about 45 minutes a day. We had forest fires in Oregon. And so my mom had to evacuate. And we were in stage 2, which was get ready to go and be ready to evacuate as soon as possible. So my mom had to move in and saw really kind of how sick I actually was. And she moved in full time to help care for my children. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my husband was working full time and taking care of me and the children and the laundry and the cooking and everything. I couldn't do anything. I could barely get in the shower by myself. So then the rest of the family really everyone stepped up. I'm lucky that I live so close to my family. So my sister, my mother-in-law, and my mom, each took a day, and my husband took a day. And so the kids had care. We weren't able to get childcare because of, we didn't know what I had, or if I could pass anything to anybody else, and I couldn't get sick from anybody else. And so we really had to keep our pod very small.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
You got all of this. Did your husband get any symptoms? Did anybody in your family?
We think right around that 2-week period, both of the kids had a little something, and Mike had a little something, but it wasn't anything. And my husband has really severe asthma, and it didn't hit anybody as hard as it hit me. Wow. So it's possible. My husband and I are now vaccinated because there were studies that showed that the vaccine was helping long haulers. So my first vaccine I did get, and I had no symptoms for 7 days, and then they all came crashing back. Wow, and then I had my second vaccine, and I was crawling, because I got the Pfizer, and I had to wait, I think, 3 weeks or a month. And it didn't really help with the symptoms. So we're lucky in that I was the only one that has had this in the family. And we were, very careful about who we saw, and, everyone on the street knew that I had something, and no one, people would see me outside, and if I was able to get outside and just put my feet in the grass just to be in nature for, 5 minutes, and the neighbors would scurry. So it's definitely an interesting feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I know everyone was feeling isolated during that time, but I was in my bedroom.
Yeah. So were you also, under all of that, were you also isolating yourself deliberately from your family?
I had to for I would say the first 3 weeks after my first symptom. Yeah. My husband moved down and was sleeping in the basement. And we fully isolated. So they would leave me food outside my door, and he was sanitizing all the doorknobs, and I wasn't allowed to see the kids for 3 weeks. And, and then, the longevity of being bedridden. My daughter was drawing, she draws what she sees. And so she was drawing our family pictures like kids do. And it was, my son and my husband and my daughter all standing, and I was laying in bed in her drawings. Oh. So there was a lot, I was, the mom guilt, the guilt. Sure. I'm not a good mom. I'm not a good wife. I'm not a good partner. Like, what do I have to contribute to anything or anyone? I was so far down. I call it, I was down in the deep, deep well. I felt like a wounded animal in a cave. And my symptoms were so prevalent, and really, everyone's symptoms are different. They're saying there are 207 symptoms of long COVID now. I think I had about 30 of them. And mine were really in my head. So I have encephalitis of the brain, which is swelling of the brain, which is similar to Parkinson's disease. It's similar to dementia, and it's similar to traumatic brain injury. So I'm going to read you my list of symptoms if you're curious.
Maybe the heavy hitters.
The heavy hitters. I had migraines. I had COVID migraines, which don't go away. So I had a migraine every day for weeks at a time. No amount of migraine medication was helping. So any sound that I would hear would set me off, and I'd have to go put my silencing headphones on, my eye pillow on, and go lay in a dark room. Sometimes all day, sometimes for a week, sometimes for 2 weeks. And, sensory issues, light and sound, I couldn't handle. I was wearing sunglasses. And it was really, the brain fog was horrible. So and I'm still coming out of it, but I would walk in a room and be like, why am I here? Walk out of the room. You know how you walk out of the room and you remember, and then you walk back in and you do the thing you're supposed to do. I couldn't remember. So I'd leave. Right. You need to make the kids lunch. Walk back in the kitchen. Why am I here? Leave. Okay, make the kids lunch. Walk back in the room. Can't remember. Leave. Make myself a note. Make the kids lunch. Walk in the kitchen. Look at the note. Make the kids lunch. That's how bad my memory was. So I couldn't retain information. I had virtually no short-term memory at all. The depression was crushing. I'd never been on antidepressants before, and I had to get on antidepressants because I was suicidal. Thank goodness for antidepressants, because I don't know where I would have been otherwise. The fatigue was debilitating, having literally no energy to walk to the mailbox, which is 100 feet from the house. I couldn't even do that. And then I stopped being able to eat, and my digestive system stopped working completely. So I stopped being able to pass urine and feces. And my husband was like, okay, this is where we're at. Let's get you some Ensure. Let's get you Pedialyte. And let's just try and get, a calorie is a calorie at this point. I was down to 109 pounds in April of this year. And
how much weight did you lose?
25 pounds in 2 months. And I think I'm probably about 113. So I'm getting my appetite back. Food tastes good, which is exciting, because before, maybe a piece of toast, but it was, I would have my husband tell me, can you please tell me to eat 3 more bites? Like I'm a child. And he'd say, please eat 3 more bites. And then I would try and get the 3 more bites down. And then, all of the energy then went to my body trying to digest the food, and it didn't have any energy for anything else. And so I'd have to go back to bed. And that's when I realized, I think I'm dying because my system is shutting down and I'm not able to even process food. I'm not urinating. I'm not defecating. And so what am I really looking at here? And so I was part of a long haul group, and I posted, I'm going to back up a little bit. I did end up taking a few COVID tests that were negative, but they were so far after my onset of symptoms. And then someone emailed me, and I don't know how they got my information. Don't care, because they said, we've gotten your information. We actually have a long haul test. It's an index test, and it's $480. But if you take it, you'll know if you have long haul COVID or not. And I was like, well, fine, whatever. At this point, I was spending $800 a week on supplements and doctor's appointments, and so.
Where was the test being offered? Like you were going to take the test, but what was that through?
I think it was I can get this for you. It was bioanalysis or bioanalysis something. See, I don't have it's in my medical records downstairs. So it was a spit test and a urine test, and so there were certain things I couldn't eat before, and so I followed all the directions and took the test. And on the long haul index test that they've created, anything under a 5 means you have long COVID. Anything over a 5 means that you don't. And my score was a 1.6. So I definitely have long haul. And that was sort of like, okay, this is what I'm dealing. This is what I'm really dealing with. And it's not fibromyalgia, because if it was maybe it is, I think I'm out of the fibromyalgia flare. I'm out of the Epstein-Barr flare. But I never got out of the long COVID flare.
Right. And so when you got that confirmation, what was the date of that? Because this all started from March 13th.
So I took the test. Good question. I took the test in migraine. April of 2021.
You took the long hauler test in April 2021.
Yeah. So about a year after.
So over a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, when you were going through, your family, your community, going through all of that, did you all think you had? I mean, did you know there was a term long hauler? You're like, I know I have it. I just need proof.
Yes. I knew something was not right. And my doctors kept saying, you're in a flare. And I'm like, when is this going to end? This isn't, my fibromyalgia pain points had stopped hurting, and I had all these new symptoms that they couldn't really categorize into anything else. And at this point, because of my job and what I had to do and the access to medical records and information that I had because of my job, I really was pretty certain that I had it. And my doctor thought I had it too. And it was proof that yes, this is what you have. But then it was, okay, now what? Now what? Yeah. Because, I was looking at the information at the time, which said that about, 10% of people that get COVID get long haul, which is a huge amount once you start adding up the data. And the number of people in Oregon, I think at the time was like, if you did the math, it was about 75,000 people. And that was
for just Oregon long haulers. the state of Oregon.
For the state of Oregon. And then you start thinking about
God.
disability or unemployment, and you're averaging about $55,000 per person per year. And then you look at the 5-year trajectory and you're looking at trillions of dollars.
Wow.
So that was scary for me, but for everyone else. And, I could see this big giant wave of, oh no, coming, right? The money, the lack of education around long haul, the fact that all of these people didn't know what they had. And so I posted on this long haul group, has anyone gotten 100% better? And out of 300 people, one person said yes. Wow. And this person was Elizabeth Lynn Fisher, who also has Epstein-Barr and is a long hauler. And she ended up going down to Mexico to die. Because that's where her body felt best. That the food there is not as processed as the food in the United States, and her body could tolerate it a little bit better. And she said to her husband, if I'm going to be anywhere, I just want to be, in this town in Mexico with you, watching the sunset, and to die happy there with you. So she. Again, by the grace of whoever, people in town were telling her, you should try stem cell therapy because that's what they're treating everyone in Mexico for COVID and for long COVID. And she had her first treatment on April 1st and immediately could feel a difference. And
oh my gosh.
Immediately. And she went from not eating, she weighed about the same amount. I think she weighed 113 pounds. She was living on a carnivore only diet because she couldn't eat anything else because she had all of these other health problems and had a histamine allergy. And now she can eat anything she wants. And so I, sent her a message and I said, what did you do? And she said, well, here's what I do. And, we're trying to build this business to get people down here to connect them to the doctors, because this seems to be the only thing that's actually working for people in a shorter term time frame. I'm sure there are cognitive behavioral therapists, there are, MRIs and CT scans and all of these things that you can get, which I'm still waiting on. So I called her on Monday and I was on a plane on Wednesday. This would have been in May of 2021. So I had my first stem cell treatment on May 28th. And I'm looking at May 28th. It says migraine. It says stem cell treatment number 1. And on May 29th, it says best day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I started immediately the next day on the 30th, tapering off of my antidepressants. And my migraines started to go away, and I'm just looking, and I'm saying, like, I started tracking my exercise. I was able to exercise again. I started doing yoga again.
How quickly after that? So your symptoms started going away the next day. How soon were you able to exercise again?
2 days.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. That is a bloody miracle.
Hold on here. It is a bloody miracle. It is a bloody miracle. It is a bloody miracle.
Oh yeah. It's the Passionate Health Advocate Dance Break. Now get up and shake your thing.
So then I got in a car accident. So I was supposed to wait a month before I went back down, but 2 weeks after, on June 12th, we got rear-ended by an F-150, and all of my symptoms came roaring back.
Oh.
And so I ended up getting my MRI at the emergency room, and I was worried because of my encephalitis that I could have something really bad happen. And I was unfortunately not able to get the care that I needed in the United States. I wasn't able to get, I was in pain. I wasn't able to get pain medication. And the treatments that the doctors were recommending, magnesium and fish oil, were not as powerful as what I needed for what I was dealing with. And I don't think they even knew what I was dealing with. So I called Lynn and I was back in Mexico 5 days later. And I had my second set of stem cell treatments that week, and everything went away again.
Wow.
So I just got back from my third treatment. So each treatment I've been able to have a few more million. So I started with 25 million stem cells, then 50, and I just went up to 75. And every treatment I get better and better and more clear. And I believe in this treatment so much that when I was there for my first treatments in May, I said, don't be mad, but I'm building you a website. Like, let's look at what it's doing for me. And now I believe in this so much that I want to help other people. And no one, because of the FDA laws in the United States, the types of stem cells that you're able to get in the United States are cryogenically frozen, they're modified, and they're only, you have to be within two, not, like if you have a child, you can use your child's stem cells, but beyond that, you are not able to. And they don't allow mesenchymal stem cells unless you're part of a clinical trial in the United States, or umbilical cord stem cells in the United States unless you're part of a clinical trial. And so those are the building block stem cells. So those are, the ones that give life and sustain us. And I didn't know that we stopped producing stem cells after the age of 30. So, and I also know now that long COVID, it creates genetic mutations in your body. And so my DNA was mutating. And so what the stem cells do is they go and they search and destroy. They find the DNA that is damaged, and they replace it with new DNA, basically, with fresh DNA.
When you say fresh DNA,
yes,
is it going to be your DNA? Like, so, I mean,
No.
There's probably a lot of people.
Yes.
I don't have a huge wealth of knowledge when it comes to stem cell research and stem cell treatment. So
I didn't either.
Okay. So my first question is, what type of stem cells did they use for your treatments? The ones you were saying that you need to have? Yes.
So they were using umbilical and mesenchymal stem cells. So the way that they process them in the town that I was in, they actually harvest them the day before your treatment. They check them for diseases and viruses, and then they courier them. So they're fresh. They're as fresh as they can possibly be.
And where are they coming from?
They come from Guadalajara, so about 30 minutes outside of town. So they just the courier takes them, brings them to the clinic from the lab, and you get your treatment and your fresh stem cells that, the day after or the day of harvesting. So they're not modified. They're not frozen. They're, you can't, in the United States, you can have your own stem cells taken out and put back in your own body. But if you're ill, then you're taking your ill stem cells out and then putting them back in your own body. And so you can use your own stem cells, but what you really need are fresh stem cells that are, that are clean and pure and disease-free. And that's the difference. So
right. That you're thinking about it like, well, it's kind of too late because I'm ill. I need to, replenish.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you say, okay, these stem cells, they're, you're getting the treatment. And you said for the DNA. So how does that work? Does it code with your DNA? I mean, it goes after ones that are mutated, but then what does it produce?
It depends on how sick you are and what illness you have. So if you're really sick, they start you on a very small dose. And what it does is it basically finds the systems in your body that aren't working, and it fixes them. And it's like magic. I've never really, seen anything or felt anything like it before. And I've tried a lot of different treatments. I have a whole list. And in terms of, the science behind how the DNA then, I don't know all of the specific science, but I do have resources that I'm happy to share with your listeners. And it's, I'm just going to give personal examples because, I'm my own lab rat.
Right.
And I was having kidney pain. I couldn't figure out why. And so I went to the doctor here and I was like, I think I might have a UTI. But I think it was COVID.
Urinary tract infection.
Yeah, I didn't. I came back negative. And then, it takes about 30 days for the stem cells to really produce results for you that you can actually feel and see a difference in yourself. For some people, it's immediate. For other people, they're hoping that it is as immediate, and it may not always be, just depending on, how sick you are and, the not comorbidity, but the coexisting illnesses within the body.
Sure.
Because there are people that have Lyme disease and Epstein-Barr virus and long haul COVID, and it's, they obviously are probably going to have a slower time. And I am lucky in the fact that I am part of the naturopathic community, and I was doing all of these other treatments to help boost my immune system. And I think that's why I had such an immediate positive reaction.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Because all those other diseases you're talking about are affecting the immunity. So
completely. It's all
back from that. Yeah.
It's all autoimmune.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I'm going to say it again. It's a bloody miracle. And I can't believe you're here to tell us about it. I know. There are no words to even say what you and your family have been going through. It's amazing. And now, now that you're saying it's that you're not alone, there's so many people out there, that are probably going through the same thing. And I'm just so glad you're here to tell us about your journey, and that you found a miracle, or at least a miracle for you, or possibly another way for other people if they're not getting out of their deep well, as you say.
And I have asked providers, are you aware of this, that this is an option? Are you aware that, and a lot of them say no, it's not, it hasn't been in the United States. It's not part of their medical training. It's not part of their residency programs. It's not part of what they learn because it's not available here. And so even the nurse that I met with, I'm now able to be part of a long COVID program. And they're going to be, giving me all the different tests at some point. I'm still waiting to hear on referrals about that. But, I said, did you know that this was an option? She said, I've never heard of this. So I'm here to, I want to give people hope. I want to hopefully, use my story to be able to educate people on the fact that these stem cells are a cure for many, many things. And we took a vacation that we'd planned a long time ago. We went to Hawaii for a week, and I had, resigned myself to the fact that I was like, I can lay in bed anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'll just go lay in bed in Hawaii, and, my husband and the kids can go play. And we got a cold when we were there. And my husband was sick, and my daughter she looked at me and she started crying, and she said, "Who will take care of us?" And I said, I will. And she just looked at me and she said, "What if you get sick again? Who will take care of us?" And I was like, "I'm not going to get sick again, honey. Dada just has a cold. I can take care of you now."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the emotional labor that my family's been through has definitely been, there's still kind of, we're all just hoping that, this continues, that my progress continues. I've said I'll go down once a month if that's what I need to do for the rest of my life. Like, great, fine. If I feel like the way I do today, if that's what it takes, I will do that,
because
the alternative was, not looking good. So,
yeah. So, wow. Congrats. I don't even know if I said this. I mean, I said bloody miracle, but congratulations for you.
Thank you.
Just pulling yourself through all of that. Wow.
I've just been sort of thinking of it myself as my own clinical trial, hoping that, all of this information, these stacks of papers that I've been keeping and, just charting everything, would make a difference. And I think it is now. I'm working with, there's a research institute in Oregon that is looking into helping us, because we have all of the data with the doctors in Mexico, and now we have data with US citizens in Mexico. So we have all this access to data. We're a data bank. We just need someone that is that knows how to do clinical trials and is a statistician to help us really cull through the information. And, my hope is that the United States will, and all countries will really look at this at not their own national level, but really the global level.
For sure. Yeah.
Because, the Delta wave is coming. And now children are getting long COVID.
Children are.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. As young as I think 10, 12 years old, and in bed, not getting out of bed, can't do sports, don't have a life at 12 years old. So I don't want anyone else to have to feel like that. I don't want anyone else to have to feel that desperate and that unheard, and to go that deep when there is something that could help people.
Yes. And again, you went through all of that and keeping data. I just, you're paving the road for so many people as an option for what, and as you said, hope. And I just thank you immensely for your contribution. I just think it's really amazing.
Thank you. And I can't take full credit, because I've had, the group that we've started, it's called Ophelia Rises. Okay. And it's our duty. We're all volunteers. No one's making a profit off of any of this. And it's our duty to share this information. And, I think it's a Maya Angelou quote where, once you heal, it's your job to go out and heal other people too. And so that's kind of our motto that we're working with. And so,
well, that's a beautiful motto.
Yeah. So we've started a grant program to be able to get people down to Mexico that can't afford it. And I would just say to to any listeners that are considering this, get your passport because the process is long, and, get that expedited, because there've been passport issues and people just, I can't get there because I haven't gotten my passport yet.
Yeah.
But we're really, we're trying to, those that can afford to go, come on down, and those that need help and are in underrepresented communities and aren't being heard and don't have access to good quality care and don't have access to medical care, that's really, we're trying to catch those people. And I have not done this alone. And I've had, the support of Ophelia Rises to really help me rise.
Wow. Well, thank you and all of them. For the listeners that, taking notes, especially if you know somebody that's dealing with long haul or yourself, what do you have, an email address? How can they? So
they can find us on, we have a website. It's opheliarises.org. We also have a Facebook page, Ophelia Rises. We're on Twitter, Ophelia Rises. We're on Instagram, Ophelia Rises. I'm running their social media platforms. So come, bring them. If anyone comes, you will be helped. So.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And how do you spell that?
Good question. I have to write it down because I was never good at spelling bees. Just give me one moment.
Just for listeners that are doing audio, so they know how to type it in there and what they're looking for.
Yep. So it's OPHELIARISES.org, OpheliaRises.org. And I'm headed back down there in a month. So maybe I will see. Maybe I will see some of your listeners. No.
Maybe. I mean, that's the hope. I mean, right now it's August. I know this is going to air
October,
a little later in October. So, but maybe you will in October for sure.
Yeah.
How did you get the name? Where does the name of that come from?
So Elizabeth Lynn Fisher, who is the founder of Ophelia Rises, had a dream where she's got children, and in the dream she was trying to save her children. Someone was trying to attack her children and take her children away, and she got all of her children safe except for a baby named Ophelia, and she doesn't have a baby named Ophelia. And she woke up out of the dream and was like, what is this about? And Googled, the name Ophelia, which actually comes from Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare. And the idea is that Ophelia, her father was murdered. Her, fiance, was not kind to her and told her to go to a nunnery, and everyone called her mad and didn't believe her, and no one gave her a hand to help her up. And the idea behind Ophelia Rises is that, you don't have to drown in the water. We are here to help give you a hand up and help you rise and help you become the person that you deserve to be. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Yeah, I was like, there's got to be a story behind the name. So thank you for sharing that.
Yep. And the full story is on the website if people are curious.
Oh, okay.
So Lynn goes into her whole story about how it all came to be. So.
Wow. Okay. So this advocacy program that you have, getting people, especially people that don't have any medical resources, all of that, it's just like really get them there to try the stem cell research.
Yes.
What's happening? What about people in Mexico or people from other parts of the world? Do you know what's going on with that?
So people in Mexico are treating, they're actively treating patients that have COVID and long haul COVID with stem cells, with mesenchymal and with umbilical cord stem cells. The issue is there's something called medical tourism.
Yes, I'm fully aware of that.
Yes. And so the ranges are, for one treatment, anywhere from what we charge, which is, for 20 million stem cells, is about $650 to, depending on where in the world you go, could go, one treatment could be upwards to $50,000. Wow. So the doctors that we've really specifically decided to work with aren't in it for the money. They're in it to help. And I've met them all. They're lovely people. I've met the folks that we work with, 2 stem cell companies. We've toured the facility. What pharmaceutical company will let you tour their facility? I don't know. I've never been invited. Maybe they do for a patient.
Right.
So they're really, and the stem cell companies are also helping with the grant program. And so they're happy to help get people treatment if it means saving lives. And I think that's where we're at, is that there are many lives that need to be saved. Yeah. And there are many, many people that are very, very desperate. And I was one of them.
Yes, you were. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you, because we do have listeners that are not just located in the United States.
Correct.
So if there are people in other countries listening, what do you advise for them?
Just go to opheliarises.org. We've had people come from England. We've had people, actually, we're working with people in Mexico that want to go through our service because it's just easier.
Mexican residents?
Yes.
Or residents of Mexico, I should
Residents
say.
of Mexico. It's easier for them to go through our service because we do all the paperwork and the doctors don't have to. And so that way the doctors can see more patients and not be so focused on the paperwork. So we're not just for United States citizens. We're available to anyone all over the world.
Wow.
So, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
In Mexico, are you able to say where these treatments are?
I can say that it's in the area of Jalisco, but the doctors have requested that I not give too much more information because we've had a lot of people that have been just trying to seek them out directly. Mm-hmm. And we've had a few patients that have shared cell phone numbers of doctors with their friends, and the doctors don't appreciate that. And so we're very protective of our doctors and their time because we want to be able to get treatment. We want to maintain a good relationship, and we want to make sure that other people are able to access the treatment as well. So we are sort of the guardians of their time, and but the cells are harvested in Guadalajara, and then the town is right outside of Jalisco.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, again, my gosh. Yeah, everything with COVID, fighting territory we didn't know. I mean, not just people that are affected, but even doctors and all the medicals. This is all entering the unknown. And the fact that, with your amazing skill set, not that, again, like I said earlier, I've never wished this on anybody, but you have this magical skill set that you are able to contribute to this program and know the needs of the doctors so they can continue doing their work. And then the needs of what you went through, someone that's a long hauler, and how, even if you have money, you're falling through the cracks, So imagine people that don't have the means.
The single parents, I can't.
I can't.
We hear those stories, and it's devastating.
Yeah,
it's devastating.
Yeah. I mean, kudos is not a big enough word for what you're doing. I mean, I want to salute you. Like I'm just tremendous what you've been going through. And I know I do have a sense that what's pulling you through not only is that you're feeling better, but that you're in this big cause to help pave the road for other people, and that we can get out of that.
Yeah. Yes. And so the good news is there was an article that came out yesterday that the United States has approved one stem cell company to start treating and doing clinical trials on patients for COVID-19.
Oh, great.
But if you want treatment now, it's available. So, and I don't know how long those trials will last and how long it will take to roll that out in the United States. But it's, for me, it was not soon enough.
Yeah. So, yeah. You didn't have time to wait. It
didn't
sounds
have
like.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And probably there's other people, and thank God this is going out there for anybody that needs to hear it. So if you're listening, again, very important, these options for people that feel like they don't have options, please share for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have, sorry.
Well, I will just say, it's not just, we're hearing from doctors, we're hearing from nurses, people that have been frontline workers, of all sorts, grocery stores, those that have kept our civilization sort of progressing at all. They're patients of ours now. So it doesn't, this illness, this disease, this autoimmune issue, who knows what it is, it doesn't care who you are, where you are, how much money you have, how old you are. It's, so I want people to get healthy.
Yeah.
And to not have to live like this. So.
Yes. Again, thank you for sharing all of this. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to our listeners? Any last information or?
I would just say, don't give up. Hope is here. And what is hope worth?
Yeah.
And I just appreciate that you invited me to be on this amazing podcast, and that you're advocating for real health for people. It's so necessary and it's so needed. And there's so many conversations and information that we're not able to really share because of rules and all of those things. And I know you're putting yourself out there, and I just appreciate you doing that, because if not you, who? That's kind of how I feel about what we do too. So if not us, who?
Right.
So,
oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, as you were saying, this, we try with the show to just give people the right information and resources. And if it resonates, then go for it.
Great.
Go for it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. And not everyone is ready to leap, and that is okay. But if you are ready to leap, we're here to catch you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Beth, this has just been a very powerful time talking with you. And again, I feel so honored, and thank you for everything that you're doing. And I wish you and Ophelia Rising all the success. I hope so many people can benefit.
Yes. And it's Ophelia Rises. Someone else had Ophelia Rising. So
okay, my mistake. But it just makes, maybe I'm not the only one, so I'm glad we're reiterating.
Yes,
Ophelia Rises.
Yes. .org. Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Well, I wish you and all of them success, and I hope you can, help out so many more people. So thank you so much.
That's our goal. Thank you too.
Thanks for joining the Passionate Health Advocate Show with your host, Denise DeShetler. Like what you hear? Then subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.